So, good morning. This is the last lecture for this course 510 of your master degree about human resources management. So the idea for today is to take your book and summarize what we did. But before doing that, I want to explain why human resources management is important. So a very few days ago, we heard the news that the CEO of Twitter is leaving his job. And there are, of course, as usual in these cases, different opinions. Is a good thing that is going to be replaced? Is a bad thing? He was a good manager. He was a bad manager. But from our point of view, what makes clear is that even a high technological company like Twitter needs people. People manage businesses. And so people are crucial for the success of a business, even a technological business. People are instrumental for the success of a company, and people are instrumental for the failure of a company. Some people bring a business to success, then other people come and they bring the company to failure, or vice versa. Some people brought a company very close to failure, and then new people came and the same company, the same business became successful. People are crucial in a company. And so, but of course, when you have many people inside the company, you have somehow to find a way for all these people to work together. It's not simple. And it's not simple because people have different opinions, they have different behaviors, they have different ways to approach problems, and they come with different solutions. People come with different expectation. People want different things. People come with different approaches to work. And so from all this diversity, which is implicit in humankind, you have to build a successful team. And so this is what human resources management is about, to bring this diversity of goals, scope, behaviors, intentions, and so on. And you transform all of this in a successful team. So your book has a few chapters to address how to transform this diversity that is implicit in humankind into a very successful team. So the first chapter, Managing Human Resources, is just to explain what I just explained. That human resources management is important because otherwise you can have a bunch of people in a company, each of them individual, doing whatever they want. And then the chapter 2 is about trends. And the most important trend is that people want to be free. People want to be free to approach business and work in a certain way, in their own way, actually. As they want to have a time for families, they want to have time for whatever other interests they have, as they want to work from home, they want to work different times, they want to have some time, some sabbatical for themselves, and so on. Then chapter 3 is about the legislation, because working is one of the most regulated activities in the United States and in general in many, if not all countries. Why? Well, because on one side you have an individual looking for a job or working in a company. On the other side you have an owner or a representative of the owner, who are the managers. And in between, there is the government, or if you like, politics. And the politics try to set the rules of the game of the relationship between the employer and employee. And the most important rules, there are many, but the most important rule is that every individual must be treated equally. So it doesn't matter if he's a woman, if he's member of a certain race or gender, whatever. Every person has to be treated equally. And in chapter 4, we start entering into the real mechanics of the management, and is about analyzing work and designing jobs, which basically means you have an organization and you have 10 people. You have to decide what to do with these 10 people. And you start looking at your company and say, well, actually, what is exactly is what that I need? Well, I need somebody that is managing the relationship with the customers. Okay, this is the marketing director. And then I have somebody who has to manage the relationship with the suppliers. And then I need somebody who is managing the relationship with the investors. And then I need somebody who is taking all the accounting of all these costs and revenues that I have. And then I need to have somebody who is able to decide over all these things. And so step by step, you see what are the activity of your business, your company, and what are exactly the jobs that you need to cover. Assuming now you have designed 10 jobs, you have to find the right person that are able to basically deliver these jobs. And maybe you have already somebody, but maybe not. Maybe you have 3 great people work in accounting, but you don't have anybody with a marketing sensibility. And so um, 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 chapter 5 of your book is about, okay, I have to hire somebody with marketing sensibility. And so you have to make a plan, because maybe you don't need exactly today somebody with that sensibility, maybe next year. And so you plan, and then you have to recruit, which basically you have to hire somebody that is good for that particular job. And so when you start the selection process, there is some steps. You put an ad, some people reply, you start looking at the CVs, you start making a selection, you select 20 people, you interview 20 people, out of these 20 people, you have 5 people, then you interview again these people until you find the right fit. And then you have to put these people in place, which is not completely easy, because other people already work in the company. How these people will react to see this new guy coming, or how the guy will react entering in a new environment. All these topics are covered in chapter 6 of your book. And then you have chapter 7, which is training. So training can be 2 things. One is um, um, you know a lot of things. You have a marketing sensibility. So training can be because the person has some kind of skills, but not completely the whole set of skills that are required for accomplishing whatever in this job. So it's quite close, or she is quite close, but it's not enough. So the training is basically covering the gap. But the training is also important because the situation evolves, and the market is changing, and the competition is changing, the company is changing. And so there is an idea of um, uh, never-ending training that allow the people to adjust and to evolve in the same direction in which the business is evolving. Chapter 8 is exactly about this. It's about planning the training for people, not just for matching the requirements of today, but the requirements for tomorrow and the day after tomorrow and the next week and the next year. So there is an idea that the company is evolving, is changing all the times. People need to change, and the changing doesn't mean also you change your mindset or the ideas or whatever. It's also a matter of skills. It's also a matter of knowledge. And so if you develop this knowledge and then you discover that this knowledge is obsolete, you need new knowledge, refreshing the knowledge, and so on. And so it implies a never-ending training. So if a bunch of people come together in a company, is because they want to, okay, of course, they want to receive some salaries, some benefits, and whatever. At the same time, the company wants to be successful. So the whole thing is translated in idea of performance. An organization has to perform, which basically means it has to reach the goals. For example, the company made $2 million last year, and this year has to make $3 million, and next year has to make $5 million. And so, but to say to put 3, 4, $5 million in the budget is easy. To reach these goals is difficult. To do that, you need to have an organization, so a bunch of people, a group of people that are performing. Performing means that they have to reach the goals. And so to create and maintaining this kind of organization is the topic of chapter 9. Chapter 10 is, okay, but we talk about the performance of the company. How about the performance of a single individual? How we can set the goal for each individual, how we can measure the performance, how we can evaluate the performance and say the performance is enough or not. Of course, if the performance is to reach $10 million or whatever, the goal is easy. But if the goal, for example, is to make a very creative environment, to create a creative group of people, it's much more difficult to define the performance. And so in chapter 10, there are a few models or schemes to study, to understand how basically the performance are set, evaluated, measured, and so on. And then there is chapter 11 is about when the people leave and when the people stay. And of course, there are different situations. One situation is we don't want this individual to work with us, and he or she leaves easy. Or we want this guy to stay with us, and he or she stays easy. But then there are the other situation. We want somebody to leave, but he wants to stay or she wants to stay, and so we have to fire this person. Or on the other side, we really count on somebody, but this somebody wants to leave. So how we can retain this person, how we can maintain this person loyal to the company. And this is about chapter 11. As I said before, people go to work because they receive some kind of compensation. And so chapter 12 is about payment or pay, salary. Of course, there is a kind of structure in the pay, because usually somebody who is answering the phone doesn't receive the same salary of the CEO. And so how much the CEO has to receive with regarding the salary of the guy at the phone. For example, the guy who is in charge of marketing, and the guy who's in charge of accounting, and the guy who is in charge of the supply chain, are these people at the same levels? They have to receive the same money, or their job, or they are at the same level, but their job are one more complex, one more simple, and so on. And so to build this structure, allow to compensate everybody in a fairly way. And then, of course, people perform, and they can perform in a certain way and needs to be paid in a certain way. For example, some people come with sales. So because it comes with sales, they receive some money that is basic, and then some money is a percentage of the sales. Or somebody's involved in a special project, and so he received or she received the money based on their job plus on the project. Or maybe somebody received the money because in this particular year has been or she has been particular performance, but only that year. And so to compensate people in a flexible way allowed the company to recognize the effort and the results of the single individuals in the single moment. And in chapter 14, this is in America, but it's more in general, is explained that the employee usually doesn't receive only the salary, but they receive a lot of other benefits. For example, health insurance, for example, retirement funds, for example, some time for vacation, some time for women to stay home when are pregnant or they just born to somebody. And so there are all these benefits that are on top of the money coming from with the salary. The last two chapters of your books are about one, the unions. Of course, until now, we talk only about individual talking or working in an organization, how this individual can be managed. But then there is the totality of individuals that are together as a union. And chapter 15 is about the rise and decline of the unions and how the unions can leverage the number of individuals to receive a better, basically to make a better deal with the managers and the ownership. And finally, is chapter 16 is about global organizations, international organizations, when basically the company is based in many different countries or work in many different countries, and people come from different countries. And so there are different cultures, a different level of education, different kind of expectations. Expectation, and all this must be standardized in a way that makes all these people coming from different countries, living in different places, highly performing for the benefit of the company. And this is the last chapter of your book. I hope you really enjoyed this class because it's one of the most interesting, I would say, among your